Hello and welcome to the training video series for Alchemist AI Pro. I am your host, Nicholas Edwards. First, let me ask you a question about this video's main topic, capture. What do you think capture means? To me, there's a moment before any software gets written that decides almost everything that comes after it. And a lot of the time, it doesn't happen in front of a screen. Think about it. What happens when a business analyst meets a customer for the first time? The customer has a lot of ideas. Some half-formed, tangled, some urgent. A good analyst comes in with almost nothing: a notepad, a pen, and a willingness to listen. Over the course of that first meeting, the customer talks, the analyst writes, the analyst asks the occasional pointed question, directing the customer towards finding those hidden, salient points that they were hired in order to find in the first place. You might notice that nobody is building anything yet. Nobody is solving anything yet. The analyst is simply capturing what the client needs. That is exactly what's happening in Alchemist AI Pro's capture stage. You are the analyst now. The notepad is the screen in front of you. And the discipline of capture before construction, that's what the platform is designed to enforce. This is the most consequential stage in the whole journey, the soul of the application taking shape. Care taken here pays off everywhere downstream. Care skipped here costs you time downstream. That's just the work of an analyst, same as it always has been. Now I'm going to hand things off to Jamie Campbell. He is going to walk you through Alchemist AI Pro's capture stage, and I'll be jumping in to assist with key points along the way.
So we're going to begin by calling out a new application. We're going to call this application AI Pro CRM. This is actually in our house the 4th version, and I like to put the version 4.0 on it, and you'll understand why as we go through and talk about versioning and things of that nature. Like all applications, AI Pro CRM begins with an initial context. Now, let's talk about what this means for us. Ultimately, the design of Alchemist AI Pro is to be that arrow in the quiver of a business analyst or a sales support role when you're going to a potential customer. That potential customer always has ideas in their mind. In fact, you could be the customer and you have ideas in your mind. Likewise, when you're sharing those ideas with that human in a pursuit call, you're in their office listening to them, you come out of that with a set of notes. Likewise, Alchemist is also listening for those notes. And that's what we're going to do here, is we're actually going to provide the context and describe the opportunity. The opportunity I have already crafted. We're going to go through that in pretty good detail. I actually come from a CRM background with a lot of familiarity to the CRM world. And so AI Pro CRM is a workflow that captures a 7-stage sales workflow. This 7-stage workflow will be called opportunity. The first stage is identify, the second stage is qualify, the third stage is presentation, the fourth stage is proposal, the fifth stage is negotiate, the sixth stage is verbal, the seventh stage is close. Additional reference features include the CRUD of contacts, CRUD, create, retrieve, update, delete. This is a very powerful word, and all it means is that for those important tables we have in this application, we want to have an administrative ability behind the workflow to just create rows or add rows or list the rows in a retrieve or delete the rows. And so we're asking it to give me CRUD for contacts, locations, and tasks. Opportunities can have contacts, locations, and tasks attached to them. And so that is a little bit of an object definition. And I'm really going to stop there on that. We will allow elaboration to run its course. Now, What I could have done is started this and said, I want a CRM application leveraging the best in class understanding that is available. And Alchemist will go and create things. You lose a lot of your control as you're creating things. But for some customers, that's what they want. They want the vision of what is available because they really don't have the vision in their head. This is really the difference between what we call a greenfield opportunity, an opportunity where it's green pasture and you get to lay those seeds however you want, or a brownfield implementation where you've already farmed the land and you're looking to build up a new crop of capabilities and features. Brownfield also is leveraged highly when you have an existing application and you want to replace that application. In small organizations, this is pretty easy and looks a lot like greenfield. But in a little larger organization, you have to start thinking about things like the interfaces, the downstream reporting. What does it interact with? What does it integrate with for incoming capability? Is there a website out there that needs to be integrated? What does it do? Customer support, that kind of thing. So ultimately, this is our entire state of what we're looking for. It goes into detail because, like I said, I actually know a little bit about it, and so I wanted to do that. You'll see here, I actually copied and pasted a little bit of this.
Why, hello again. I am interrupting for a second to add a little bit more context to what Jamie was talking about. So, greenfield or brownfield are about where you are starting from. There's another question that travels right alongside it. How much detail do you give the thing up front? No child in the history of the world has ever asked Santa Claus for a Ryzen 9950X 3D processor with 128 gigabytes of RAM, dual RTX 5090s, liquid cool with the ability to go into the BIOS and overclock things just so you can run the latest titles. No, a child always asks for the best computer to play video games, and Santa Claus figures out the rest. That's the altitude for a context statement. You want big rocks, your vision, who are the users, what are your expected outcomes, what are the constraints, just like Jamie just showed you. It is the shape of the thing you want to exist in the world. The details, well, you'll fill those in later. That's what the next stage, elaboration, is for. What matters here is the vision, in plain language. One thing worth bringing up again is the capture context statement is load-bearing. Everything that comes after rests upon it. Come back later and change it, and the foundation will shift. So the time to get things right is now, before the rest of the house is built on top. Now back to Jamie Campbell and the training.
So ultimately what we have here is all of the requirements that we're looking for in order to make this go. Okay. Now let's look at some of the other things that I can do for capture. I could go and choose files, and I am going to choose some files. So one of the files I am going to choose is over here in called the contact personas. Okay. And what is in contact personas? It's very simply this. I wanted to identify them separately just to show you the feature, and it's going to leverage that. So do I have to be inside of Alchemist for every little thing that I want to notate? Absolutely not. What formats does files represent? It does look at PDF files. It does look at Word documents. It does look at Excel. It is an AI behind the scenes. Therefore, you can save yourself some hassle, especially if you're working with somebody else's document and they've got all kinds of formatting and weirdness in it that you don't want. You want to be able to carve that down so you can migrate it to a markdown document, or if you can, get it to a JSON document, or you can just use a text document. Any of those will work. Now, I will caution you. I have seen our customers already go and use documents that have about 5% of it useful and 95% of it noise. Now, imagine if I handed that to a human BA. That human BA would have to go and interrogate that entire document, pull out the 5% that's interesting, and toss away the 95%. Here, your issue is that Alchemist is going to read the document at its whole and say all of it's important because you put it in. It will allow you during elaboration to tell it those elements are not important, but that leads you into a lot of time where you're going to have to tell it what not to include. My recommendation, when you have documents that support your requirements, carve out the part of the document that is the supporting document for your requirement and leave all of the rest alone. That is what a human actually does, and we still have a human intervention here, and we want you to do that. It can, in theory, do all of that for you, but again, your goal is to get to a well-conceived requirements document with at minimum frustration. So we've got ourselves a little bit. Let's keep looking. So connect to GitHub. As you can see, my partner, Patrick Grau, is out there doing things.
This is the narrator cutting in just for a moment. Now, if Mr. Campbell hadn't already configured for GitHub, he would see a screen that looks like this, where he is showing off GitHub currently. When you click on that, it'll ask you for a classic token from GitHub. Now, in order to get there, you go to GitHub, you click on your profile, you go to your settings, and then at the bottom of your settings options, there are developer settings. Click on personal access tokens to drop down a list, and you'll see tokens classic. Once you go in there, you can now generate a token. And when you generate a new token, you want to click classic. Once you get that information, now you go back into Alchemist AI Pro, enter that information as well as your user ID. Using GitHub correlates with brownfield and greenfield. Now, if you have a brownfield project, that means you may want to use GitHub to leverage code archaeology and get the exact requirements of what that application is currently doing right now. If you have a greenfield project, you may still want to use GitHub in order to reference useful features of an application that you have access to. Now back to Jamie Campbell and the training.
We are able to scrape web pages. So if you have a website that represents your business, let's suppose you are in HVAC, heating and air conditioning, you can put your entire website here and pull it in, and this will provide Alchemist with a context for your business, especially the understanding that maybe you sell parts, or maybe you sell service plans, or maybe you sell emergency services. These create different kinds of workflows that are useful to the application, and maybe you want it to be a back-end application to that website. Again, all of that is available to you. It scrapes it in, it uses it as reference. And then finally, domain knowledge. Domain knowledge is something where if you desire to create an entire domain of knowledge, let's suppose that you are that heating and air conditioning organization, and in heating there is a lot of math that goes into measuring a home to figure out exactly what kind of heating unit you need for the most efficiency. All of those measurements are literally sets of tables and formulas. You could actually upload that domain knowledge, contact us, and we can have it uploaded specific to your user and your user only. And then that domain knowledge is a reference that can be used, in this case, for business rules for that HVAC company. So anyway, back to AI Pro CRM. That is Capture. Again, to summarize, we are interested in giving the business analysts the ability to gather the information and let the alchemist facilitate getting that information all put together with no ambiguity. That is really the focus of Alchemist AI Pro. Let's continue to elicit.
And that was the capture stage. To quickly review what was covered in this training video, capture is the soul of the application. Focus on rocks, not details. The 5% rule is if there's 95% noise in a document, only use the 5% that is valuable. Leverage the documents, GitHub, web scraping, domain knowledge, text entry in order to leverage capture correctly. Use each of the channels in accordance to your vision. This is your host, Nicholas Edwards, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video covering the stage, elicit.